At the family meeting, I said I can't wait for our vacation. Then my dad replied with a laugh, "It's only for family without you." They all laughed loudly. I just nodded and left. 5 days later, my mom tried to withdraw $5,000, but I blocked the card and wrote pay without me. Panic ensued. The conference room at my father's accounting firm felt colder than usual. That Tuesday afternoon, I'd driven 40 minutes through rush hour traffic to make this mandatory family meeting, as my mother called it, 3 days prior. My younger sister Emma sat across from me, scrolling through her phone with that familiar smirk she'd perfected over the years. My brother Tyler leaned back in his leather chair like he owned the place, which made sense considering Dad had just made him junior partner last month. I was 28 years old, the oldest of 3 children, and somehow I had become invisible in my own family. "Regina, put your portfolio away," my mother said, glancing at the folder I'd brought containing property listings. "This isn't about your little real estate hobby." Little hobby. I'd closed over $2 million in sales last quarter, but sure, let's call it a hobby. Dad cleared his throat, and everyone's attention shifted to him like planets orbiting the sun. "We're here to discuss our annual vacation. Your mother and I have decided on Hawaii this year, 2 weeks at a resort in Maui." My face lit up despite myself. "That sounds incredible. I've always wanted to see." "It's only for family. Without you," Dad said, cutting me off with a laugh that seemed to surprise even him with its cruelty. The room erupted. Emma doubled over in her chair. Tyler slapped the table, and my mother covered her mouth as her shoulders shook with laughter. The sound echoed off the mahogany walls, bouncing around my skull like a pinball. I sat there frozen, waiting for someone to say they were kidding, waiting for Dad to crack a smile and admit it was a terrible joke, waiting for Mom to tell them to stop being ridiculous. Nobody did. "Wait, you're serious?" I managed to ask. "Of course we're serious," Tyler said between laughs. "This is for the real family, Regina, the people who actually contribute." Contribute. The word came out hollow. Mom finally composed herself enough to speak. "Honey, you have to understand. Emma's graduation is in June, and Tyler just made partner. We want this trip to be special for them. You're so busy with your work anyway, and frankly, we need this time to bond as a core family unit." Core family unit, as if I were some kind of satellite member orbiting at a distance. "Plus," Emma added with a grin, "you always ruin the vibe with your whole responsible older sister routine. We want to actually have fun, you know." I looked at each of their faces, searching for any hint of remorse or second thoughts. Dad was already pulling up hotel photos on his laptop. Mom was making notes about flight times. Tyler had gone back to checking his stocks on his phone. Emma was texting someone, probably her boyfriend Jake, sharing the hilarious story of how they'd just excluded her older sister from the family vacation. "Okay," I said quietly. They didn't even look up. I gathered my things, pushed my chair back carefully so it wouldn't scrape against the expensive flooring, and walked toward the door. My hand was on the handle when Dad called out, "Oh, Regina, one more thing. We're going to need you to cover the office while Tyler's gone. Just the basic stuff, answering phones, that sort of thing." I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just nodded and left. The drive home was a blur. I lived in a modest condo downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I'd bought it myself 3 years ago when the market dipped. My parents had called it premature and risky, but now it was worth 30% more than I'd paid. I sat in my kitchen that night, staring at my laptop screen, unable to focus on the Henderson property analysis I needed to finish. My phone buzzed with messages in the family group chat. Emma sent photos of bikinis she was considering. Mom posted links to restaurants in Maui. Tyler contributed nothing as usual, but reacted to everything with thumbs-up emojis. They'd added me to every planning conversation, making me watch them, coordinate a trip I wasn't invited to join. Here's what they didn't know. 3 years ago, when I bought my condo, I helped my parents restructure their finances. They were drowning in credit card debt, had taken out a second mortgage, and were facing some serious tax issues because Dad's firm had hit a rough patch. I spent 6 months working with their accountant, their bank, and a financial advisor to clean up the mess. As part of that process, I became a joint account holder on their primary checking account. Not because I wanted control, but because the bank required it for the debt consolidation loan I co-signed. My excellent credit had saved them from bankruptcy. They'd forgotten about it entirely. Why wouldn't they? I'd never touched the account, never questioned their spending, never even logged in to check the balance. I was just a name on some paperwork they'd shoved in a drawer and forgotten about. I opened my banking app and navigated to the joint account. Current balance, $47,382. I sat there for a long time thinking about that conference room, thinking about Emma's laughter and Tyler's dismissive comments, thinking about my mother calling my career a hobby, and my father saying I wasn't family enough to join them on vacation. The next morning, I drove to my bank and spoke with my account manager, a woman named Patricia, who'd helped me buy my condo. I need to implement spending controls on a joint account, I told her. Patricia pulled up the account details. You have full authority here as a joint holder. What kind of controls are we talking about? I want to require my approval for any withdrawal or charge over $100. She looked at me over her reading glasses. That's going to lock down the account pretty significantly. I know. Are you sure about this? Regina. These kinds of moves can cause family drama. I thought about the conference room again. The laughter. The casual cruelty, I'm sure. It took about 20 minutes to set up. Patricia walked me through the digital authorization system, showed me how I'd receive requests on my phone, and explained that any attempt to withdraw or charge more than $100 would be automatically declined until I approved it. The account holders will be notified, Patricia warned. They'll see that restrictions have been placed. That's fine. I went about my week as normally as possible. I showed 3 houses on Wednesday, closed a deal on Thursday, and had lunch with my friend Rachel on Friday. She'd been my roommate in college, and she was one of the few people who truly understood how complicated my family dynamic was. So they're really just leaving you behind? Rachel asked, shaking her head over her Caesar salad. Apparently I'm not part of the core family unit, I said, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. That's insane. You're the one who helped them avoid foreclosure. They don't see it that way. To them, I'm just the oldest kid who moved out and got a job. Tyler's the favorite because he works with Dad. Emma's the baby who can do no wrong. What are you going to do? I shrugged. I'm figuring it out. The family group chat continued its excited chatter. They booked their flights for the following Tuesday. Mom posted a countdown every morning. 5 days until paradise and 4 days until family time. I muted the notifications. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Dad's name appeared on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again 5 minutes later. Then Mom called. Then Tyler. I was at the grocery store carefully selecting produce when my phone started buzzing nonstop. The group chat was exploding with messages, but because I'd muted it, I couldn't see what they were saying. Finally, I stepped outside and checked. Mom Regina called me immediately. Dad, we have a serious problem with the bank account. Tyler, what did you do? Emma, this is so typical of you. I called my mother back. She answered on the first ring. Regina Elizabeth Parker, what have you done? Her voice was shrill, panicked. I'm at the grocery store, Mom. What's wrong? The bank account is frozen. I tried to withdraw money for the trip and it was declined. Then I tried the credit card linked to that account, and it was declined too. The bank says there are restrictions requiring authorization from another account holder. Oh, I said, calmly examining a display of apples. That would be me. The pause that followed felt like it stretched for an eternity. I could hear my mother breathing on the other end, processing what I'd just said. Around me, other shoppers continued their mundane Sunday errands, completely unaware that my entire relationship with my family was imploding over produce. I don't understand, Mom finally said, her voice dropping to something between confusion and disbelief. Why would the bank give you control over our account? They didn't give me control. I already had it. I've been a joint holder for 3 years, remember. You and Dad needed my credit score to qualify for the debt consolidation. The bank required me to be on the account as collateral for co-signing. I moved my cart toward the dairy section, keeping my voice level and professional, as if we were discussing grocery lists instead of financial warfare. But you've never done anything with the account before, she said, and I could hear the wheels turning in her head, trying to understand this shift in family dynamics. That's because I trusted you. I trusted that even though I had access, you'd never give me a reason to use it. Turns out I was wrong about that. Regina, honey, you're being irrational. We can talk about this after the trip. We can sit down as a family. And we did sit down as a family. I interrupted my calm facade, cracking just slightly. Last Tuesday in Dad's conference room, that's when you all decided I wasn't worth including. It wasn't like that then. What was it like, Mom? Because from where I was sitting, it felt pretty clear. Dad made a joke about me not being family. Everyone laughed. Nobody apologized. Nobody said, "Wait, that's too far." You all just kept planning your perfect vacation without me and expected me to smile and accept it. I grabbed a gallon of milk, checking the expiration date purely out of habit. These mundane actions felt surreal against the backdrop of our conversation. You're twisting everything, Mom said, her voice taking on that martyr tone she used when she wanted to be the victim. We thought you'd be too busy with work. We were trying to be considerate of your schedule. Really? Because Tyler works with Dad 60 hours a week and somehow you found time for him. Emma has finals and graduation preparations, but she's going. The only person too busy is me. And coincidentally, I'm the only one whose career you call a hobby. Silence again. I'd backed her into a corner with logic and she knew it. How much do you need? I asked, switching tactics. For the trip, how much were you trying to withdraw? $5,000. We need it for the resort activities, the excursions, nice dinners, shopping. The hotel and flights are already paid for, but we need cash for everything else. $5,000. I thought about what that money could represent: new furniture for my condo, a vacation of my own to somewhere I'd always wanted to visit, investment in my business. Instead, it was going to fund a trip I was explicitly excluded from. That's a lot of money for a vacation without me, I said. Regina, please. You're being vindictive. This isn't like you. Maybe you don't know what I'm like, Mom. Maybe you spent so long seeing me as the responsible one who fixes problems that you forgot. I'm also a person with feelings who deserves respect. Silence. Then what do you mean that would be you? She asked. I'm a joint holder on that account, I said. Remember from when I helped you with the debt consolidation 3 years ago? Well, obviously there has been some mistake. Call the bank and fix it. It's not a mistake, Mom. I implemented those controls myself. More silence. I could hear Dad's voice in the background asking what was happening. Why would you do that? Mom's voice had shifted from panic to anger. Because this is a family vacation and apparently I'm not family. So you should pay without me. Regina, this is ridiculous. We need that money for the trip. We leave in 2 days. I guess you should have thought about that before you all laughed at me in Dad's conference room. We were just joking. Were you? Because it didn't feel like a joke when you called my career a hobby. It didn't feel like a joke when Dad said I wasn't family. It didn't feel like a joke when Emma said I ruin everything. You're being overly sensitive. Maybe, but I'm also the only person who can authorize your vacation funds. So here we are. Dad grabbed the phone, Mom said sharply. Regina, listen to me. Dad's voice came on the line, clipped and furious. This is childish and petty. Unlock the account right now. No. Excuse me. I said, no, Dad. You wanted a family vacation without me. You got exactly what you wanted. Now you get to figure out how to pay for it without me, too. You're jeopardizing our entire trip because your feelings got hurt. My feelings didn't get hurt. You made it very clear where I stand in this family. I'm just responding accordingly. We can't access our own money because of you. Actually, it's not just your money. I'm a joint account holder. That makes it partially my money too, legally speaking. And as a joint holder, I have every right to implement spending controls. I could hear him breathing heavily, trying to control his temper. What do you want, Regina? An apology. I don't want anything from you. I want you to enjoy your family vacation with your real family. Your core family unit, as Mom put it. You're going to regret this, he said, his voice low and threatening. Maybe, but probably not. I hung up. The calls continued throughout the evening. Tyler tried the reasonable approach, explaining that they'd already paid for the hotel and flights using credit cards, but they needed cash for excursions, dining, and resort activities. Emma tried guilt crying about how I was ruining her graduation celebration. Mom tried bargaining, offering to include me in future vacations if I just unlocked the account. Dad didn't call again. I responded to none of them. Instead, I ordered takeout, opened a bottle of wine, and watched a movie I'd been meaning to see for months. Monday morning brought a new wave of panic. The family group chat was a disaster zone of blame, anger, and desperate planning. They tried to open a new bank account, but the debt consolidation loan was tied to the restricted one, and moving money around would trigger penalties and fees they couldn't afford. Emma, I can't believe you're doing this to us. Tyler, you're being completely unreasonable. Mom, Regina, please. Let's talk about this like adults. I finally typed a response. Have a wonderful trip. Send postcards. Then I left the group chat entirely. Rachel called me that evening. Are you okay? You've been radio silent all day. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. What happened? I explained everything from the bank account restrictions to the desperate phone calls. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Are they going to cancel the trip? I don't know. I don't really care, honestly. Regina Parker, I've known you for 10 years, and I've watched your family treat you like an afterthought the entire time. I'm proud of you for finally standing up for yourself. Thanks, that means a lot. Are you worried they'll retaliate somehow? What can they do? I haven't done anything illegal. I'm a joint account holder, exercising my legal rights. Tuesday morning arrived their departure day. I woke up early and went for a run along the waterfront, enjoying the sunrise and the cool morning air. My phone had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I ignored all of them and went to work. Around noon, my phone rang from an unknown number. Normally I wouldn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Parker, this is Detective James Morrison with the police department. Your family has filed a complaint regarding financial elder abuse. My blood ran cold. Excuse me. They're claiming you've illegally restricted their access to their bank account and are financially exploiting them. I need you to come down to the station to answer some questions. Detective Morrison, I'm a joint holder on that account. Everything I've done is completely legal. That may be true, but we still need to investigate the complaint. Can you come in this afternoon? I called Patricia at the bank first. She confirmed that everything I'd done was legal and well within my rights as a joint account holder. Then I called a lawyer, a guy named David Chen, who specialized in family law and financial disputes. Don't go to the police station without me, David said immediately. Give me the address. I'll meet you there in an hour. The police station was exactly like you'd see in a movie. All fluorescent lights and uncomfortable plastic chairs. David arrived wearing a sharp suit and carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than my car payment. Detective Morrison turned out to be a tired-looking man in his 50s, who seemed skeptical of the whole situation from the start. Let me get this straight, he said, after I'd explained everything with David's approval. You're a joint account holder. You implemented spending controls using the bank's legitimate systems, and your family is upset because they can't access funds for a vacation they explicitly excluded you from. That's correct. He looked at my parents, who'd shown up at the station still wearing their airport clothes. Their flight had clearly been delayed or rescheduled. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, nothing your daughter has done is illegal, Detective Morrison said. She has equal authority over that joint account. Filing a false police report, however, is illegal. But she's holding our money hostage, Mom protested. It's not just your money, Detective Morrison replied wearily. That's what a joint account means. Look, this is a civil family matter, not a criminal one. You need to work this out among yourselves or take it to civil court. David leaned forward. Detective, for the record, my client co-signed a significant debt consolidation loan for her parents 3 years ago. She became a joint account holder as a requirement for that loan. She's asking for nothing except to be treated with respect. If Mr. and Mrs. Parker would like to remove her from the account, they're welcome to do so, but they'll need to refinance their debt consolidation loan first, which may be difficult given their credit situation. Dad's face turned red. You told a stranger about our private financial business. You brought me to a police station and accused me of elder abuse, I said quietly. You don't get to complain about privacy now. We left the station separately. David walked me to my car. That was bold, he said, almost admiringly. Most people wouldn't have the guts to stand up to their family like this. I didn't really plan it. It just sort of happened. Well, you should know. They could try to sue you for the funds, but they'd lose. You've done nothing wrong legally. Morally, ethically, that's between you and them. What do I owe you for today? He waved me off. First consultation is free. Plus, this was entertaining. I don't get many cases like this. That evening, I sat in my condo and thought about what I'd done. Was I being petty? Probably. Was I being vindictive? Maybe. Did they deserve it? Absolutely. My phone buzzed. Emma's name appeared on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. What do you want, Emma? I hate you, she said, her voice thick with tears. I hate you so much. You ruined my graduation trip. You ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything. I simply stopped paying for something I wasn't invited to. That money isn't yours. Actually, legally it is. Joint account. Remember, you're a terrible sister. A terrible person. I hope you're happy sitting there all alone while we're supposed to be in Hawaii. I'm happy. Actually, for the first time in years, I feel like I have some control over my own life and how I'm treated. You're going to end up alone forever, Regina. Nobody's going to want to be around someone as bitter and twisted as you. Maybe, but at least I will have my self-respect. She hung up on me. Wednesday came and went. The family group chat stayed silent. I assumed they'd either canceled the trip or scrambled to fund it another way. I didn't check, didn't ask, didn't care. Thursday afternoon, I was showing a house to a young couple when my phone rang. Mom's name appeared. I sent it to voicemail and focused on my clients. She left a message. Regina, it's your mother. We need to talk. Please call me back. I didn't. Friday evening, Rachel came over with pizza and wine. Okay, she said. Spill. What's the latest? Nothing. Radio silence since Tuesday. Do you think they canceled the trip? I have no idea. How do you feel about all this? I considered the question carefully. Honestly, I feel free. Like I've been carrying this weight for years, trying to be the good daughter, the responsible one, the person who fixes everything and asks for nothing in return. And they still treated me like I was disposable. You were never disposable, Regina. You were just surrounded by people too selfish to see your value. Maybe that's what I needed to understand. My worth isn't determined by whether they appreciate me. Rachel raised her wine glass. To finally standing up for yourself. To finally standing up for myself, I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. The weekend passed quietly. I deep cleaned my condo meal, prepped for the week, and caught up on reading. It was peaceful in a way my life hadn't been for a long time. Monday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was getting ready for work when someone knocked on my door. Through the peephole, I saw Tyler standing in the hallway looking uncomfortable. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. What do you want? Can we talk? We're talking now. He shifted his weight from foot to foot. Can I come in? No. Regina, come on. Don't be like this. Like what? Like someone who doesn't want to welcome a person who laughed at her and called her unimportant. He flinched. I came to apologize. Okay, apologize. Not out here in the hallway. Then I guess you're not apologizing. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. Fine, I'm sorry for what we said at the meeting. It was cruel and uncalled for. Anything else? We didn't go to Hawaii. We couldn't afford it without access to the main account. Emma's devastated. Mom's barely speaking to Dad. The whole family is falling apart. And you think that's my fault, isn't it? No, Regina. You all made a choice to exclude me and mock me. I made a choice to stop funding people who treat me terribly. Those are separate choices with separate consequences. We're family, Tyler said. Family forgives. Family also respects each other. Family doesn't laugh when someone's hurt. Family doesn't call someone's career a hobby or tell them they're not part of the core unit. So what now? You're just done with us? I don't know. What I do know is that nothing changes if I just roll over and pretend this didn't happen. You all need to understand that actions have consequences. Dad's talking about removing you from the account and refinancing the loan. That's his choice. I hope his credit has improved since I co-signed 3 years ago because he's going to need it. Tyler looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the person they'd taken for granted for so many years had finally evolved into someone who wouldn't tolerate disrespect anymore. Mom wants to have dinner this weekend, he said. All of us. To talk. I'll think about it. Regina. I said I'll think about it. Now I have to get to work. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. Confrontation had never been my strength, but something had shifted inside me that day in the conference room. Some fundamental understanding that being family wasn't enough if the relationship was toxic. That evening, I called Patricia at the bank. I want to know what my options are, I told her, regarding the joint account. Are you thinking of removing yourself? Maybe, but I want to understand the implications first. She explained that removing myself would require my parents to refinance the debt consolidation loan within 60 days, or the entire balance would become due immediately. Given their credit history and current financial situation, they'd likely face higher interest rates and less favorable terms. What if I kept the joint account, but removed the spending restrictions? That's always an option. You could lift them at any time through the app. But I'd still have access to the account. Yes. As a joint holder, you'd retain all your rights unless you formally removed yourself or they closed the account entirely. I thanked her and hung up thinking about the dinner invitation. Part of me wanted to refuse to let them stew in the consequences of their actions, but another part of me, the part that had always tried to be the bigger person, wondered if there was a path forward. I texted Tyler dinner Saturday at 6:00. Neutral location, not the house. He responded immediately. Okay, where's Sullivan's Steakhouse? That's expensive. I know. Dad's paying. Tell him to bring his credit card. Saturday evening, I arrived at Sullivan's wearing my favorite dress and feeling more confident than I had in months. The hostess led me to a private room where my family was already waiting. Everyone looked uncomfortable. Emma's eyes were red like she'd been crying recently. Mom's mouth was pressed into a thin line. Dad sat at the head of the table, his jaw clenched. Tyler was the only one who attempted to smile when I walked in. I sat down at the opposite end from Dad, creating as much distance as possible. Thank you for coming, Mom said stiffly. You asked. I'm here. Let's get to the point. Dad spoke up. We want to clear the air and move past this unpleasantness. By unpleasantness, do you mean the part where you all mocked me and excluded me from a family vacation, or the part where you filed a false police report against me? We were angry, Mom said. You have to understand, Regina. You put us in an impossible position. No, you put yourselves in an impossible position. I just stopped enabling it. Emma crossed her arms. So you admit you were punishing us? I wasn't punishing anyone. I was establishing boundaries. There's a difference. Boundaries. Dad scoffed. This isn't about boundaries. This is about you being vindictive. I leaned back in my chair. 3 years ago, when your business was failing and you were about to lose the house, who helped you? When you needed someone with good credit to co-sign a loan, who stepped up? When you needed financial advice and planning, who spent 6 months organizing your disaster of a situation? Silence. I did. I put my own financial future at risk to help you, and I never asked for anything in return. I never held it over your heads. I never demanded gratitude or special treatment, and we're grateful Mom started. Are you? Because it doesn't feel like gratitude when you call my career a hobby. It doesn't feel like gratitude when you laugh at me for expecting to be included in a family vacation. It doesn't feel like gratitude when you try to have me arrested for elder abuse. Dad's face was red again. What do you want from us, Regina? An apology. Fine, we're sorry. Now unlock the account. That's not an apology, that's a transaction. Then what do you want? Emma demanded. I looked at each of them, these people I'd spent my whole life trying to please, trying to help, trying to earn respect from. I want you to see me, I said quietly. Not as a convenience or a backup plan or someone who exists to solve your problems. I want you to see me as a person with feelings and boundaries and self-respect. We do see you, Tyler said, but his voice lacked conviction. No, you don't. You see the role I'm supposed to play, the responsible oldest child who takes care of everything. But you don't see me as someone who deserves the same consideration and respect you show each other. Mom dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. We never meant to make you feel that way. But you did. And this isn't the first time. This is just the first time I've done something about it. Dad cleared his throat. So where does this leave us? That depends on you, I said. I'm willing to remove the spending restrictions on the account, but I'm not removing myself as a joint holder, and I'm not pretending this didn't happen. What does that mean? Emma asked. It means things change from here. No more being treated like I'm less important than everyone else. No more last-minute demands on my time without consideration for my schedule. No more dismissing my career or my life choices. And if we agree to this, Dad asked, then maybe we can start rebuilding something. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take genuine effort from all of you, not just me. The dinner continued awkwardly with stilted conversation and long silences. We ordered food that nobody really enjoyed, made small talk about nothing important, and carefully avoided the elephant that had been sitting at this table for years. As we were leaving, Emma caught my arm in the parking lot. I really did want you to come to Hawaii, she said quietly. When Dad made that joke, I laughed because everyone else was laughing, but I felt terrible about it immediately. Then why didn't you say something? Because that's not how our family works. We go along with whatever Dad says, whatever keeps the peace. You're the only one who ever pushes back. Maybe that's the problem, I said. Maybe everyone else needs to start pushing back too. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. I'm sorry I called you bitter and twisted. You're not. You're brave. I hugged her back, surprised by the emotion in my throat. Thanks, Emma. When I got home that night, I opened the banking app and removed the spending restrictions. Then I sent a message to the family group chat that I'd been reading but not participating in. Restrictions lifted. Moving forward, I expect basic respect and consideration. That's not negotiable. Mom responded first. Thank you, sweetheart. We love you. Tyler, glad we could work this out. Emma, love you, sis. Dad took 12 hours to respond. Acknowledged. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale resolution, but it was a start. 3 months later, my parents asked if I'd like to join them for a long weekend in a lake house they were renting. Just the immediate family. No agenda, no obligations. I said yes. The weekend was surprisingly pleasant. Emma had broken up with Jake and was more grounded than I'd seen her in years. Tyler brought his new girlfriend, a woman named Amanda, who seemed to actually call him out when he was being pretentious. Mom cooked elaborate meals, and Dad tried in his awkward way to show interest in my real estate deals. On the last evening, we all sat on the deck, watching the sunset over the water. Dad cleared his throat. Regina, I want to say something. Everyone turned to look at him. I've been thinking about what happened before Hawaii, about what you said at dinner. You were right. We took you for granted. I took you for granted. Dad, let me finish, he said. When you helped us 3 years ago, you saved this family. Not just financially, but you held us together when we were falling apart. And instead of appreciating that, we treated you like you owed us something. He looked out at the water, his voice rough with emotion. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the joke. That wasn't a joke. I'm sorry for not defending you when I should have. I'm sorry for being a coward who was more concerned with looking good than actually being good. Mom reached over and squeezed my hand. Emma had tears running down her face. Tyler nodded slowly, like pieces were clicking into place for him too. Thank you, I said. That means more than you know. I also want you to know, Dad continued, that we started paying down the debt consolidation loan ahead of schedule. In about 18 months, we should have it paid off completely. And when we do, we'd like to formally remove you from the account with our thanks and our blessing. You've carried that weight long enough. I felt tears prick my eyes. I appreciate that. We're going to do better, Mom said. All of us. No more taking each other for granted. Emma raised her wine glass. To family. The real kind where everyone matters. We all raised our glasses and toasted to new beginnings. The story could end there with everything tied up neatly, but life isn't neat and families are complicated. There were still hard moments ahead, still times when old patterns tried to resurface, but something fundamental had shifted that day in the conference room and in the weeks that followed. I'd learned that self-respect isn't selfish, that boundaries aren't cruel, that standing up for yourself doesn't make you a bad person, even when people you love try to make you feel like it does. And my family learned that taking someone for granted doesn't just hurt that person. It damages everyone involved, eroding trust and connection until nothing genuine remains. 6 months after the lake house weekend, I sold a commercial property that earned me the biggest commission of my career. That evening, I treated myself to dinner at an expensive restaurant. I sat alone at a table with a view and felt genuinely completely content. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Heard about your huge sale. So proud of you. Then Tyler. Congrats on the Henderson building deal. That's huge. Then Mom. Your father and I are so proud of you, sweetheart. You've built something remarkable. Finally, Dad. Well done, Regina. You've earned every bit of your success. I smiled and put my phone away. The validation felt nice, but I didn't need it anymore. I'd learned something more valuable than their approval. I'd learned my own worth, and nobody could take that away from me.